A massive fourth quarter run gives the Utah Jazz another home win in an incredible group effort over the New York Knicks. We're talking about it next in Postcast.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone after the Utah Jazz hold off the New York Knicks by the final score of 117-113. The final moments of this game are probably the ones that are the best. Sorry, Mike Breen was saying goodbye. When Mike Breen says something, you just stop in this business.
One of the best ever.
Yes, maybe the best radio announcer in the history of NBA television, or at least has his voice on the most historic moments in the history of NBA television, without question. The end of the game will be like some focus because of the nervousness, but the story of the night is the fourth quarter run. The Jazz held off a Knicks run at the end and then went on a massive 19-2 run to open up the fourth quarter and win this ball game. And that was wildly impressive.
It was wildly impressive. They ended up getting outscored in that fourth quarter only by 1 point, but that was because of the fouls and the free throws that were taken there by the Knicks and the Jazz with some turnovers. Couldn't be nervousness or anything like that. It's just, but they held on to win.
I mean, we really don't have a point guard who's closed games in the NBA. Keontae went out 4 minutes in tonight with a foot injury, and he went back to help on a play. There was no one around him, and his foot the best way I could describe it was it looked like the purple, like there was like sticky glue or something that grabbed his foot for a second on the court. It just kind of grabbed him, and then he went straight to the locker room and did not play. So you really had Colin Sexton and Talen Horton-Tucker trying to close a game tonight. That is not a natural thing for them. Lowry is not one who can go get a basketball and go get a bucket. So it's always hard to get him the buckets late. We saw that. The other story of the night is what the Jazz did defensively. I don't know what the final numbers were tonight. It was actually a pretty offensive game and a slow possession game. But they changed up a lot of defense. 2-3, 1-3-1, 1 Taylor, different guys, different places. A lot of zone when Taylor was in the game tonight. And it did seem to break the Knicks rhythm. It certainly bothered Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson did not get that floor-spaced one-on-one pivoting in the game that he's so comfortable playing. And Scott Morrison, Jazz assistant coach before the game, said to us, hey, our focus is on Brunson, and that's what we looked at. It seemed as though they did a nice job in that work.
And a great game plan. It was strictly a great game plan because, as you mentioned, he's one of those guys that likes to break you down, get in the paint, as you just mentioned, use his footwork, shoot over tall defenders. I mean, he's just that good at doing that. 3-point shooting, 0 for 6 tonight. So that kept him from spacing the defense, and the zone just kept him from getting to his spots.
Well, we sold one wrong tonight. I always love the numbers because they tell a story. Our big sell coming in was that Julius Randle's often their bellwether. If he's good, they win. If he's not, they lose. He was great tonight. He had 32 points, 14 of 23 shooting. The problem was their other two guys who were supposed to do the scoring were not good. RJ Barrett was 3 of 16 and 0 of 7 from 3. And as Ron mentioned, Jalen Brunson was 0 of 6. So the two of them combined for 0 of 13 from 3. And I generally think that you got lucky. But on an also thing, you broke their rhythm. Like at some point when a team goes 9 of 39 from 3 on night, you certainly got fortunate. Let's call it that rather than lucky. But at the same time, it means you broke their rhythm in some way.
Yeah, that's I think sometimes when you can do that, the coaches, because of the changing defense, that really works in the favor, of the coach. If you're understanding what I'm saying, just you're changing the defense so you do break their rhythm, and they're not getting exactly what they were looking for.
Maybe the biggest note tonight, Tyson Ewing gave us this one, and Leaf Tulane was working on our group as well. Jazz had 23 straight baskets assisted at one point tonight.
Oh, that is awesome. Totally awesome.
And the ball movement just all night long, Ron, looked so much better than it had been. And I thought the overall execution, there was we watch them in practice and we see what they're trying to do. And there were just plays tonight that actually looked like practice, that actually looked like Colin Sexton's driving, Walker Kessler's cutting. They ran a beautiful baseline cut to Walker Kessler. It's straight out of the Indiana Pacers playbook that Tyrese Haliburton shows to Obi Toppin. We've seen them practice those kind of things. We saw plays tonight that were practiced. Plays weren't broken. Guys didn't get the ball and immediately shoot. The ball didn't stop as much as it has in some other games. I thought this group that played tonight really kind of executed what Will Hardy's been trying to get out of the offense.
And that's the fun part of us, being able to watch practice and see the things that they work on and see the things that they've gotten better at when you see it materialize in the basketball game. And as you mentioned, that's something that they worked on. So when Taylor is driving to the basket, or Colin Sexton's driving to the basket, Keontae's driving to the basket on that one particular play, they're looking for that second option, which is that lob coming from the baseline, from the sidelines.
What did Lowry do for this team tonight? Because we really couldn't score for the last 7 or 8 games.
He helps the spacing. I mean, every team knows that Lowry is the star of this team. I mean, he's the one that's going to get you buckets. He can score over smaller defenders. He's going to come off screens, and so he just changes the defensive schemes, I think, of most teams.
We've had a running debate going on Locked On Jazz of who the second best player on this team is, which I think is a really interesting discussion.
Boy, that would be a really interesting
what would you say if I told you I thought Kelly Olynyk was the second best player on this team?
I wouldn't say the second best. I'd say the second most. I'd say the second most important player on this team.
He just does stuff for this group that nobody else does.
That's what makes him important. I think as far as best player or maybe even talent, it would be someone else.
I don't know who. Honestly.
I don't know who either.
It's very undefined. Kelly tonight, and maybe the key stretch of that game, really conducted the game. He had 8 assists, and the Jazz have instituted something in their offense where when the initial action doesn't always work, if Kelly's in the game, he kind of flashes to the ball, and that execution was terrific tonight.
Yeah, he is. He started as center. Can play 3 positions, because sometimes if he's playing the small forward or Kessler's position, then not Kessler's position, but Markkanen's position, that puts him in a different way for him to help the basketball team. But at the center position, or even in his natural position, the power forward, that's when he's at his best.
So many nights this year, the storyline, unfortunately, has been, and we've had to talk about it, that the guards just aren't good enough. And that has been a lot of what we've talked about. If we're just being honest about it, Jordan and Talon and Colin have not. We get to talk about that the guards were good enough tonight. Like, funny how that works, maybe sometimes, right? But like Colin and Talon were, with Keontae going out 4 minutes into the game with that foot injury, Colin and Talon were terrific.
Yeah, Talon's value tonight didn't mean that he had to score a lot of points. What he did was score when the Jazz needed him on a number of occasions, and some big buckets. His field goal percentage was at 50% tonight. He had ended up with 3 assists and 15 points. So he was very important to what he was doing out there on the floor.
Colin might be turning out to be the universal star of the game tonight. He had 26 points. He had 4 rebounds. He had 7 assists. He told us post-game interview he was more excited about the 7 assists than the season-high 26 points. We did not put him under a lie detector test, so we will pretend that we believed that for a second. He will be the first NBA player since John Stockton who believes that assists are actually, but no, truly, Colin is. I have never been around a player who has as big a desire to do the right thing. I don't know that his game always matches what is being asked of him to do the right thing, but he has such a wonderful, just unbending want to do the right thing. So he understands that the 7 assists are the most important, and he really played great. But his just offensive force was really the key tonight. His 7 assists are nice, but his ability to just get in the paint, rise up over Jalen Brunson, as he said, I'll take that every single time if I have that matchup. That was really the key to the game. I know these 7 assists are nice, but we needed someone to put the ball in the bucket.
Yeah, his drive is just unbelievable. You heard him say that getting up at 6 or 7 in the morning and working out. No, like, it's still dark at that time of the morning.
Ron, I have a tendency to end up in our gym in the hotel late because I don't like to sit in my hotel room. He is always in there.
You're always in there.
He and I have spent more nights kind of 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the hotel gym. And like, there's Colin just going to work at something. I think the two of us sit still equally well. All right, stars tonight, Ron Boone. Good win by the Jazz all the way around. A lot of people want to, let's just address one thing. Two things that a lot of people want to know before we do that. One, everyone's talking about why doesn't Lowry get the ball? Why doesn't Lowry get the ball? Why doesn't Lowry get the ball late?
Oh, you asking me
I'm
that
asking
question?
you.
Okay, there's a few reasons. Lowry doesn't play a lot with the ball in his hands, which means you got to run a play for him in order to, or catch him on the move, something like that. So I agree. I'd like to see the ball in his hands late, but it's a play that has to be run for him. I mean, you just can't give it to him. It's okay. Get us a bucket, get us to the free throw line, that kind of thing. He doesn't have that game right now.
What do you think of Taylor Hendricks tonight?
He's getting better. He's really, but the big thing, as I mentioned during the broadcast, being able to understand the game is probably more important than him scoring a lot of buckets right now and that type of thing.
His defense, he's impactful defensively. Yeah. His pure athleticism, size, length, he's impactful defensively. His offensively, he's got to understand exactly what you're saying. All right, stars tonight. Colin Sexton's got to be one of them, I think,
Colin
right?
Sexton, without a doubt, and I think we're going to give it to Lowry there as well.
That's great to have Lowry back. So Colin Sexton and Lowry Markin and Colin Sexton are our stars. Strong game for Walker Kessler. Had a huge stretch where he dominated the game defensively. Chris Dunn was terrific for portions of the game tonight. Taylor Hendricks had his impact. I think he probably finished with the best plus, maybe one of the best plus minuses on the roster tonight. So just an all-around effort. Simone carried the game early. By the way, I'll share this comment I made off the air. And I'm going to watch Michael Smith's facial reaction when I say this. I wish I could get truth serum from Justin Zanuck, because I want to know who the first team that calls for Simone Fontecchio is, because it would tell me who scouts and who's a good GM in this league. Because if you put Simone Fontecchio on a good team where he is the fourth or fifth option, and the way he defends and works and his size, he'd be really good. Like if he's on Milwaukee or Boston or Denver, oh my gosh, would he be good? So I'd be super curious. And like everybody wants Alex Caruso. I'm not sure. I don't think Simone Fontecchio is as good, if not a better player than Alex Caruso, because Alex Caruso is a blatant negative defense offensively and won't shoot it. Won't, not that he can't, won't. So I'd be super curious to know from Justin Zanuck who was the first person to call, because that would just tell me who's a well-run organization. And then I'm hoping that Justin doesn't take the next call after that. It just, right? Like I want Simone here, but he would be incredible on a good team. Incredible. Like,
got a plane to catch.
See you. Bye, everybody. We now send you the first ever 24/7 YouTube national stream, Locked On Sports Today. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you tomorrow from Portland.